everybody, how you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Welcome back, welcome back. So this is the review session for exam number 1. Looks like we've got a small audience here today. Everybody check in and say hello. Okay, I see Ashley has a question. Go ahead and type your question in, Ashley. And I will go ahead and answer that question for you live here on the stream, and everybody can hopefully learn from your question. Looks like we have Britt here, Ashley here, and hopefully a couple more people. So while she's, let's see, Tilbit 2 and Jasmine Peters as well. Fantastic. Okay, you know what? Let me go ahead and I'm going to boot up my YouTube over here in this screen. It's a little bit easier for me to see. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So we got the sound off. And where are we at? Exam number 1. Okay, this will be a little bit easier for me. So while Ashley is typing that question in, hey, what's up, Rand? Good to see you again. Thanks for coming. While she's typing her question in, let me tell you a little bit about the exam. So, go here and pull it up and look at it. So, you have 48 total questions. You have 60 minutes to do those questions. And those questions are going to be multiple choice, some matching, some ordering questions, a couple of true-false questions, and 2 short answer questions from chapter 1. Okay. Question number 12. You know what, Ashley? I've got the questions set on random, so I'm not sure what your question 12 is. So if you could maybe type it up and give me a little more of a clue, I could answer that question, okay? Right now I can't quite do it. Oh my goodness. Let me see if I can. Dadgum. Kicked myself out of the exam. Good job, Roddenberry. Good job. Good. Let me go back to the exam here. The exam will be available tomorrow morning starting at 9 a.m. and the exam will be available until Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. Okay. The negative effect of teratogens on the developing fetus depends on many factors. Which of the following factors was not described in the lecture? Okay, so I'm not looking at the actual question or the answers, but remember I suggested to you that the effect of a teratogen depends upon the dose, the amount of the teratogen, the genetic susceptibility of the baby, and also the timing when the dose of the teratogen is administered. Remember I suggested to you that teratogens administered during the organogenesis period, in the embryonic period, during organogenesis in the embryonic period, will lead to structural damage to the organ. Teratogens that are ingested after the embryonic period, during the fetal period, might just disrupt the functioning of the particular organ. I hope that answers your question, Ashley. We have Noelia in here again. Good to see you, Noelia. Thanks for coming. Go ahead and put my phone on mute. Okay. So exam is available 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, due Sunday evening at 11:59. 48 questions, short answer, multiple choice, matching, ordering, and some true-false questions. Now I'm looking, and I've got it organized so that there's 12 questions for each of the 4 chapters. So we're going to have roughly 12 questions for each of the 4 chapters that we have. Now, the 2 things that I really want you to focus on for chapter 1 are the historical figures in the that we discussed. So let me see. Go to my whiteboard. Can everybody see my whiteboard now? Hopefully you can. Yeah. Okay, here we go. I got my whiteboard going. Remember, I want you to know Fechner. I want you to know William James. I want you to know, let's see, William Wundt. These are the three founders of psychology. Remember the founders of psychology? And then I might ask you a question about John Watson. Remember, he's related to behaviorism. And then there's George Miller. Remember, he's the guy with cognitive psychology. And then there's Sigmund Freud, who is with the psychoanalytic perspective. Okay, so you need to know why those 6 men are important. Also, I want you to be familiar with the areas of specialization, the subfields that we discussed in Chapter 1. Let me see how many questions on subfields I've got. It looks to me like we've got 1, 2, 3 questions on the subfields. All right. And then I have several general questions. About research methods. I want you to know what a case study and a laboratory observation are. I want you to know the strengths and weakness of lab versus naturalistic observations. And I also, want you to be able to describe an experiment. I'm going to give you an example of a hypothesis, of a theory, and I want you to be able to design a simple experiment to test that theory. That's actually going to be the short answer question from Chapter 1. So if I gave you a theory, how would you test that theory? I want you to be able to create an independent variable, a dependent variable, and I want you to demonstrate to me that you understand what random assignment is. Okay? Also had a question regarding the homework 2, question 9. Homework 2, question 9. Third. Let me see if I can get to question 2, number 9. Here we go. Hold on just a minute. Looks like we're getting some homework questions. No problem. I'll get to them. It just takes me a minute to figure out how to get to them. Let's see. The left hemifield. The whole point of the question is sometimes I will actually select the wrong answer. I made one accidental incorrect choice when I was creating this week's homework. So sometimes I get it wrong. Let's see what we've got. Was that the true-false question? Let's see. If they show a picture of the dog to the left hemisphere, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Let me go ahead and change that. Edit. Yes, hemifield is the correct answer there. The left visual field. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and change that to the left visual, to his left visual field, to the left visual field. There you go. I went ahead and changed that. Oops. Okay. Hopefully you can see me again now. I had to type and it messed up the screen. Yeah, that's a good question. There's literally nothing you can do to protect yourself in dementia in late adulthood. Okay. Okay. The other question is, Ashley seems to be asking about there's literally nothing you can produce If you remember from lecture, oh goodness me, yesterday, I suggested to you that one of the protective factors against dementia is aerobic exercise. So if you get yourself a lot of exercise, that is something that you can do to help protect yourself from dementia, Ashley. Now, there is no known way to slow down or stop Alzheimer's once you get it, but one of the things that you can do as a healthy-minded human being is to make sure you get plenty of exercise. Okay. Well, not literally nothing, but that's something you can try to do, which might help. That's a good question. Oh, was that the lecture from today? Okay, no problem. Oh, no problem. TLB, BLT 22, whoever that is. I don't mind doing the review session at all. Okay, very good. Let's see. Yeah, and I'm sorry about that question, TLB2. I have to make up questions every semester because unfortunately you folks share all my quiz and exam questions on Quizlet as soon as I create them. So I can't use the same questions each semester. I know I understand what you students are doing, and I guess I appreciate your motivation trying to help other people out. But that means that I, as an instructor, have to make up 600 new multiple choice, short answer, and matching questions every semester. And sometimes you make mistakes because you're trying to do these so quickly along with your other academic duties. Oh, Tyler. Okay, cool. Didn't recognize you. Okay. Not preventing it, but just decreasing the likelihood. How about that? Yeah, I can go ahead and show that. Boom. There you go. You should be able to see it. These are the folks you want to know. And so also areas of specialization, excuse me, or subfields. And then 3 general questions about research methods. Let's see, case study, naturalistic, and lab observation. Okay, and then essay, question, design, and experiment. Okay, does that help? Okay, we're getting to that. We're getting to that in just a second. So everybody's got chapter 1, correct? Do we have chapter 1 down? I'm going to go ahead and tear off my sheet and switch to chapter 2. Okay, so chapter 2 also have 12 questions. Chapter 2 is about biological psychology, right? So let's see, this is homework. Where's the exam? Oh, crinola. All right, hold on, let me go back to the exam. I opened the homework up to answer a quick question. Now I have to do the exam again. I'd rather be looking exactly at the exam because then I can give you more specific answers. Okay, let's see, edit test. All right, so that's chapter 1. Chapter 2. Let's see. Actually, I take that back. There are 13 questions from chapter 1. Okay, let's see. I want you to know, let's see, the difference between central versus peripheral nervous system. Okay, central versus peripheral nervous system. If a part of your brain controls an activity, it's in your central nervous system. If a part of your nervous system just carries out actions, it is in the peripheral nervous system. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? The answer choice that says our memory is the first. Actually, I don't want to talk so much about the homework. I'd like to go ahead and get on with the exam. If you want to talk any more about the homework questions, let's focus on that in another time if we could. Do you mind? Okay. Now remember central versus peripheral. Remember, and I also want you to know glial cells versus neurons. Remember, there are more glial cells than neurons, right? So I do want you to know that. And then let me see. Oh, and then I've got a matching question about identify the parts of a neuron based on their function. So I'm going to tell you what each of the functions are, and I'm going to let you pick which part of the neuron is responsible for that function. Okay. If you remember, I discussed to you identify neurotransmitters and hormones. There's 3 questions there. There's one matching question for that. And so if you remember, I showed you that chart which gave you a basic description of what each of the neurons did. So there's one question here as well. Let's see. There's a question, let's see. Lobes of the cerebral cortex. What do they control? That's another matching question. Okay. So this is a matching question, and this is a matching question. Okay. And then I've got one. Let's see. Right. Let's see. So let's see. Okay. Let's see. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Subcortical brain structure. Oh, and I want you to know what antagonists and agonists. Remember, antagonists and agonists are the drugs that affect the functioning of neurotransmitters. So I have a question in there about that. So 3, 4, glial cells. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. And then I want you to know what plasticity is. Question there, question there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that should be pretty much, that represents, and then there's one question, one subcortical brain structure on your structure. So if you remember, we talked about the amygdala, the hippocampus, we talked about the hypothalamus, we talked about the pons, the brain stems. I've got a question on there for that. So I've got about 10 questions for the biopsychology chapter. Everybody got that? Any questions on chapter 2? Any questions on chapter 2? Okay. Okay. Do. I don't see anybody typing in the chat bar, so I guess we're okay. I'm going to go ahead and pull chapter 2 off as well. Okay. So chapter 3. Chapter 3. Let's see. And if you folks, is the test on Blackboard? Yes, the test is going to be on Blackboard. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I will show you real quick where the test is. Hold on just a second. Let me move the test into this window. Ooh, here we go. All right, do you see the test screen here? This is in your folder, right? So if you'll go to your lessons, exam folder, what you'll see is exam 1. The same exact place that you came for your exam review is where you will see your exam folder. Okay? Does that help, Ash? Hopefully that helps you. Okay. We'll go back to this screen. Okay. So let's get on with chapter 3. We'll be matching brain parts to functions. Yes. You will match the brain parts to function. What I've done for this particular question, Sanjana, is I like to do my cerebral cortex using a brain damage example. So I'm going to tell you that Fred lost his vision as a result of a car accident. Which part of his brain was most likely damaged? And you'll say, oh, I know that the occipital cortex is responsible for vision, so he must have damaged his occipital cortex. Phineas Gage, the very famous patient, his personality was damaged as a result of the railroad accident. Which part of his brain was most likely damaged? And you'll say, oh, I know personality is controlled by the frontal lobe, so he must have had damage to the frontal lobe. Does that help, Ashley? Sanjana? The question will be very similar to the ones that are in your homework assignment, because you've got the same person writing the homework and the exam questions, so they're going to be pretty much going to look about the same. Okay, so let's get down to chapter 3. It's all the way down here. Let's see. Question number 24. Okay. So, I want you to know, all right, so, questions you'll need to know. Let's see. Materialism. Remember we talked about a materialistic explanation of consciousness, and I suggested to you that we have to be comfortable with the implication that there is no controlling soul that's controlling our consciousness. It's all controlled by our neurons, and our neurons are material. So the materialistic explanation of brain functioning says that your consciousness, what you feel right now as a soul and a personality, is actually being created by your neurons and your neurotransmitters. If you remember, we talked about the modular theory of consciousness. Okay, remember what was that theory I described to you? The global workspace model of consciousness said that consciousness is created by whatever part of your brain happens to be active at any given point. Remember, we talked about that a couple of times. I want you to know why do we experience change blindness? Okay. Let's see, there's a question about meditation. Let me go ahead and do the whiteboard. There's a question about meditation in there. Okay, let's see. 2 theories of hypnosis. 2 theories of hypnosis. There's a question about flow. There's a question about flow. Okay. Function of the SCN. Remember we talked about suprachiasmatic nucleus. There's a matching question on the stages of sleep and brain waves. Right. We've got a question on that. And then let's see. And then let's see. Sleep changes across the lifespan. So, who spends the most time in REM sleep? Is it an older person? Is it a school-age child? Or is it an infant? Which type of sleep begins to disappear as you get a little bit older? Okay. All right. There's a question on why do we dream? Remember, I suggested to you that there were 3 different theories of why we dream, so there's a question about that. There's a question about sleep cycles through the night. Okay, I want you to know about that. And then there's a matching question on sleep disorders. Okay, and I think that pretty much covers chapter 3. Chapter 3. Okay. Any questions so far, folks? How are we doing on the exam review? Any questions? Okay, I'm looking in the chat bar and it doesn't seem to be any questions at this point. So hopefully everybody's got that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and rip off the whiteboard paper for chapter 3 and talk about how long do we have to take the test once we start. 60 minutes, Amy K. You have 60 minutes. And you cannot stop and start this exam. You must complete it in one setting. Okay? All in one setting. Okay. No problem. Okay. Now let's see. Let's talk about developmental psychology. Okay, I'm going to go back to the whiteboard. Let's see. Timing of teratogens. And I'm going to switch to the whiteboard just now for you. Okay, hopefully. There's a question on the timing of teratogens. And then let's see. There's a question about myelination versus dendritic blooming and pruning. Pruning. Okay. Let's see. There's an ordering question on language milestones. Put them in order. Okay. And you know what? There's actually 2 questions. Another question about language milestones. Excuse me. Actually, you know what? Milestones in general. There's a question on milestones in general. Okay. Let's see. There is a matching on Piaget's stages of cognitive development. All right. Let's see. One, and then there's a question on limitations within each stage. Remember, we talked about the limitations of sensory motor thinking. Children aren't symbolic, so they can't pass the objective self-awareness or the object permanence task. When they're in the pre-operational stage, they can't pass the conservation task. So I want you to know that. And then there's another matching question on attachment styles. For that question, I'm going to give you 3 descriptions of different children, and you're going to have to identify which attachment style each child has. Okay, and I can see a stinking typo here. Okay, then there's one question on, yeah, there's actually 2 questions on this, on limitations within each stage. And then there's just a general attachment question. So we got one question there, 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 2 questions there, one question there, one question there. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. And then I've got 3 questions on Erickson's stages of personality development. And I know I didn't talk about it this semester. In class, I did not get time to talk about it. I do apologize that I didn't get to lecture on that actively in class. However, if you go look at the PowerPoint presentation, hopefully that will give you enough information to answer those questions. And basically, let's see, the questions are going to just ask you to identify the different stages. Okay, so I'm going to give you a statement telling you that this child is having this, or this person is having this conflict. What stage of personality development are they in? So I've got 3 Erickson questions on that. Okay. That really, in C, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 questions on chapter. 12 questions on chapter 4. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 questions on chapter 3. Okay. If you look at the whiteboard, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, excuse me. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right. You see that. Then there will be, if you look at the biopsych chapter, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 questions on chapter 2. All right. And then let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Actually, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, and 12 questions on Chapter 1. Okay. I hope this wasn't a confusing review session. Did all of this make sense? I'm sorry, it's actually kind of strange teaching to a live audience through a video camera. So sometimes I don't come off as organized as I feel like I am. Can you give us an example for the essay question? What are you looking for? Okay. Yeah. So here's the deal. The question we might ask, let's go to the whiteboard. Does meditation help students do better on exams? How about that? That's a theoretical question we might answer. Can somebody, and how will we test that using an experiment? How will we test that using an experiment, Britt? Can somebody start by giving me a suggestion for an independent variable? For an independent variable. What would our independent variable be in this example? And I'm going to go ahead and wait for somebody to give me an answer before I give you the answer. Meditation, whether, actually more specifically, whether or not they meditate, right? So what our independent variable would be, some students learn to meditate and are asked to meditate the night before the exam. Okay, and that would be one level of our independent variable. And the other independent variable, some students are told nothing. Okay, right? So this is our independent variable, our variable of comparison. Some students are going to meditate the night before the exam, and some students aren't going to meditate the night before the exam. Can somebody tell me what the dependent variable will be for this experiment? What's the dependent variable? I'll go ahead and wait and see what kind of answer we get coming in from the students. There you go. Tyler, I like Sanjana's answer better. It's the exam score. Yes, they will all take the exam, Amy, but what we're really interested in is their exam score. So it will be our exam score. And then how are we going to achieve? How do we randomly assign? Question. How would we use random assignment? Okay, what about this? What if I ask students, how many of you would like to meditate for the exam? And half of the class raises their hand. And I say, okay, you folks, I'm going to teach you how to meditate. The students that don't raise their hand and say, I don't want to learn to meditate, those students are going to be in my control group. Is that an example of random assignment? There you go. What I might do, Noelia's got it. I can't let the students decide. I can't let the students decide which group they're going to be. I have to decide, and I have to do it randomly. What if I decided that all of my students who are listed A through L, whose last names start with A through L. Those are the students I'm going to make learn how to meditate. And students M through Z, all of those students aren't going to meditate. Is that random assignment? And I'm going to go ahead and listen for an answer. No, that's not right. You never know. Maybe a lot of teachers create seating charts where they put students in the classroom based on their last name. And so maybe all the students with A through L were the students that used to sit in the front of the classroom in elementary, middle, and high school. So maybe those students are better students because they've had a better educational experience. And the students like Roddenberry used to sit in the back of the classroom and not pay attention. You know what? Actually, I would even say no to that, Sanjana. No. A random assignment would have to be something that is truly, truly random. I like Noelia talking about picking numbers out of a hat. That's really, really random. Okay? Now, what I'm going to be looking for on the exam is for you to demonstrate a random assignment, an example of random assignment. So you're going to have to tell me what your assignment strategy is, and I'm going to decide whether or not you are using random assignment or not. So for your short answer question, I'm going to be looking for you to identify and correctly give me the two levels of the independent variable. In this case, it's whether or not students meditate, whether students who meditate versus students who don't meditate. I want you to identify correctly the dependent variable, and then I want you to describe a random assignment strategy that is actually random and creates two groups that are similar at time one. Does anybody have any questions? That's really all I wanted to share for today. You folks ready for this exam? Yes, I will give you the hypothesis, Amy. Yeah, I'm going to set up the situation by telling you what the professor is interested in, and you're going to have to create the experiment using that hypothesis. To test that hypothesis, I should say. Okay? All right, folks. Last chance to ask questions. I'm getting ready to cut the broadcast off here in about another 30 seconds unless there are other questions. Ashley, if you have any questions about your homework, I know I cut you off earlier and I didn't mean to be rude, but I wanted to focus on the exam. If you want to ask me any more questions, Ashley, feel free to. You can send me a text, or if you want, we can jump in a Microsoft Teams meeting and discuss it if you think that would be more efficient. All right? I hope to see some of you at the 8 p.m. webinar tonight. Remember, watch the video on hallucinating consciousness before you come. I appreciate all of those of you who came to the 1 o'clock meeting, and I look forward to seeing the rest of you in the 8 o'clock meeting tonight. All right. Take care and have a great day.